Right, I've got a 2010 Ford Kuga 2 litre diesel. Been bought auction, non-runner. So, come down for diagnostics, trying to get it running. Fuel pressure's all okay. Cranks over. Doesn't seem like it's got a lot of compression, so take the belt cover off. And the belt is missing several teeth, so we're miles out of time. These engines are quite renowned for stripping teeth off the belts, so gonna get in there. Hopefully we'll find broken rocker arms, best case scenario, so we can do a set of rocker arms. Cams as well will be wise to change, because I'm sure they're hollow cams on these, so the lobes can move if it's been hit hard enough. So the first thing we need to do really is start to strip off the bits off the top, so we can then get the rocker cover off. Have a little look inside. Inlet manifolds are going to have to come off, rocker cover, injectors are going to have to come out, fuel pumps are going to have to come off, vacuum pumps are going to have to come off, any tubes or whatever over the top have to come off. Obviously, had to strip down this side to do the cam belt and the water pump. So we have to drain the coolant. So we get our fluids out, and then we'll start stripping this down here. Unplug the wiring looms and that first, get it out of the way, and then we'll come back for a look. Right, so take that wiring loom off, put it up to the side, get it out of the way. Fuel lines disconnected, got them out of the way. Taking the scuttle panel off, just for ease of access. Taking the wheel off, arch liner out, so we can see our crank pulley in a little while. Now, A2 EGR pipework needs to come off. Bolts down here, and these bolts in here. Get this out of the way. We need to look at taking our inlet manifold off, which is obviously the bolts. Hold it down, undo them, and lift this off. This as well. Little plugs off of here, and get this out of the way. So we'll start getting this out and come back. Right, so we removed the EGR pipework from over the back to the front. You haven't necessarily got to remove it, but it's just easier because this comes out as one big lump. The rocker cover and the inlet are all one big piece together. So you just need to get as much out of the way, make it a bit more easier to get it out. So we remove the EGR pipework from the front to the back. Obviously any breathers and that are attached to this we take off. Front anti-shudder valve is 3 T30 bolts, which unbolt. 1, 2, 3. Take that off out of the way, gives you a bit more room. And then you want to undo your bolts all the way around. Take your bolts out all the way around this cover and all the way around here and here. There's no brackets under here, but you have got this sensor in the fuel line that is clipped into the back, so take that off as well. And then in theory, once you've got all your bolts out, you also need to remember to take your cam sensor out, which sits in there, which is this 4mm Allen key bolt through here, because it goes through the top. Once you loosen them all off, wiggle it about, it will be harder than that. I will be taking it off and lift it off as one big lump. Now, you've got your gaskets under here, which will be replacing anyway, so just be careful, don't break it, just lift it from the front, wiggle it. These O-rings will be changed as well, none of the other ones. Now we can get to our injectors. So we're under our unions, 17mm all the way along, and then we can look at our spill-off pipes, which are these little clips here. We need to get these clips out, put them out to the side, and then this will pull forwards. Be careful with these, they do go brittle and you can break them easily. If they get them stuck in the injector, they're a bit of a pain to get out without damaging the injector, so just be careful, spend a bit of time. So now we've got these loose, you can loosen them off with the fuel rail as well, just to give you a bit of play. We're gonna have to get them out of the way anyway, because obviously we need to get this next, cover it off. So so we can get access to the cams and all the rest of it in here. You can see this is obviously the timing chain for the 2 cams. It's obviously single sprocket for the cam belt, twin cam. So this all comes off next. So we'll get our injectors out now. So we're going to get these pipes off, get our injectors out, 7mm bolts, 7mm Allen keys, sorry. Take them out, give them a wiggle, pull them out, get them out. Don't mix them up, leave them in order. So we get the filter system stripped off it now. We'll come back. Okay, so disconnected. So high pressure lines, injectors are all now removed. They're out the way. So now we can see top plate which needs to come off. Obviously we look in here and we've got broken rocker arms, which I was expecting to see anyway. So now we need to remove the vacuum pump and our fuel pump. This is dog drived onto the end of this camshaft, so we've got to take it off anyway. So on a fuel line you can leave on if you want to, if you haven't got the tool to get this off. So just be careful with it. Any plugs and things, get out of the way. There's 3 bolts, 1 bolt here, 1 bolt down here, and then 1 bolt down under in here. Might be worth you taking your battery out if you can't get down there, or get your airbox tube out of the way. So we're going to get the fuel pump off, and then get the vacuum pump off. Once they're off, make sure there's nothing connected on the back, which there shouldn't be, and then we can loosen off all these 8mm bolts all the way around, and then this should pry up. So start to unbolt the vacuum pump. You take your vacuum line off, push and pull off. 1 bolt up here, there's 1 bolt down here, and a 3rd bolt down under here. Same for the fuel pump, 3 bolts hold it on, pull it off, give it a bit of wiggle, pull it off. At this point we're not bothered where the position of anything is, because we've got to snap a stripped belt, so we're timing everything up when we get to the new belt. So we'll get the vacuum pump off, get the fuel pump off, and we'll come back now. Okay, so remove the vacuum pump, remove the fuel pump, the ends, remove most of the bolts from the top cover. Also taking the engine mount off to get into here. We've loosened the tension off the belt. Not really much on it anyway, but taking the tension off the belt so that when we undo the last bolts it doesn't pull the cams up. So now the belt can basically be removed, cut off, whatever. I'm not bothered about that at this point. So now we're going to undo the rest of the bolts and get this top cover off. So get them undone and come back. Right, okay, so all the bolts are out. So obviously we'll have to loosen the cam belt off for the minute. I'm not bothered about that. Need to make sure you take out the injector holding down bolts well, because they go through. Had a bit of an issue with one of them sticking in there, but got it out in the end. Next thing, obviously this cover obviously lifts off. However, it won't lift off that easily. You'll have to put a pry bar or something under here and give it a good push down. You want to be careful but quite sharp with it when you push down, and it usually goes with a snap. Sounds like you've broken something, but that's the way they come off. And you can lift this whole assembly off the top, put it to the side, and then we can see we got our cams exposed now. So we can see in there we got broken rocker arms laying around, so it's obvious it's done some damage. I don't think it would have done the valves, but we'll soon find out. So anyway, next thing we're going to do is get in a wheel arch, get our cam belt cover off, get the rest of the engine mount off out of the way, remove the cam belt itself, and then we can look at getting the cams out. So we're getting there. See, these are the dowels that it's stuck on, so it is quite tight. Bit of my pry bar that's broken off. So yeah, cam belt cover off next, and then we'll take the belt off, and then we'll get the cams out. I'll come back and have a look. Right, okay, so we've removed obviously our belt now, so that's off. Now we've removed our camshafts, and as you can see, we have carnage in here. broken rocker arms, cracked rocker arms. Every single one of them is broken or cracked, or this side has not fared too well. So, however, I can't see any springs that have let go, so it does look like we are good with any valves being bent, which is good news. So these are obviously the teeth and the belt, which is missing the teeth. Cams, these are obviously hollow cams, so we're changing the cams anyway in case they twisted the lobes. Got a new chain kit as well for it, new belt kit, etc. So now we're going to retrieve all the debris out of here, get them all out, get them all changed over, and I'll come back and have a look, and I've got the new stuff in. Right, so now fitted our new hydraulic lifters and rocker arms. All the way across, 16 new lifters, 16 new rocker arms. We've cleaned up the surface as well for our top cover to go back on, so we have to clean that up as well. Now, these are our old camshafts and chain, new camshafts and new chain. They've got coloured link, might be gold, might be black, depends on what you buy. And on the sprockets, on the old ones, you've got a dot here. However, on the new ones, there's an arrow, so that lines up the black links there and there. So these can now be put back in for the head. Obviously, just oil up your journals, a little smear of oil on the journals, and we can put our cams loosely back in. We're then going to have to put the camshaft sprocket back on the end of the cam and put our pin in, which goes through this hole here, as you will be doing a cam belt on it. At the minute we've got the bottom end is locked up with the pin through the flywheel. That's now locked up top dead centre, so we know we're at top dead centre on cylinder number 1. So when we put it in, and it's just rest it down so we can get our pin through here into this hole before we tighten the whole lot down. We're roughly there, so we can just rotate it a tiny bit to get it in, so we know we're in the right place for our belt to go on. So we're going to lube up these journals, get the cams in, and then we'll come back and have a look where we are. Right, so we've rested our cams in. See at the end, the slots are basically facing upwards. This is cylinder number 1. As you can see, both camshaft lobes are completely off of the valves. When you look at this end, we've got the pin in. Obviously we haven't got this bolted on, so obviously we need to put the seal in behind, etc. But it's just for reference for the minute. This black link is about 12 o'clock and that black link is about 11 o'clock. So we know we're roughly there. We want to get it in some position where we can tighten the top carrier down. Now, take the pin out, take that off. Don't move it too much, but you can see links are around about there and they're set up right. So we've got a bit of movement when we put it back together. So now we need to clean the bottom of this up, get this all cleaned up, some sealer back on it, and then we can bolt it down. So we'll get it cleaned up and start bolting it back down again. Right, okay, so we've now got our top cover back on, our cam wheel pulley back on again, locked up in place now. Got our tensioner across the top. This is to release the tension on the spring itself, put the tension on the chain. So that's been pulled out now. Now change tensions. We know we're in time. Obviously this needs to be stuck back down with some gasket sealer. So we've left this one overnight to go off. So now we can concentrate on, we're going to get our old water pump out down there, do our belt, get our belt and water pump done, and then we'll come back, do this end, pump all our pumps back on, vacuum pump, fuel pump, etc. And then we'll start rebuilding the top. I've got to clean our injector holes and things out, but we'll come back to that. So now we're going to get our belt back on, and we'll come back when we've got it on. Right, okay, so we've done our belt kit. If you need to know how to do a belt kit, there is a video how to do this on the channel somewhere. So if you need that, just look that up. Got our injectors back in, tighten down, obviously high pressure lines back on as well. These will go on before the top cover goes back on. We put our pump and our vacuum pump back in as well. So now we're going to get, obviously we've got our leak off pipes as well. Remember your little pins, little clips that go in, push them in. So now we'll get hold of the top cover here. Got new gaskets for it. So new gaskets for here, new gaskets for here, new gasket for there as well. So we'll get this cleaned up, get our new gaskets in, and then we'll rest this back over the top of the engine. So I'll get that done and I'll come back. Right, so jump forward a few steps. Got obviously our top plate on, rocker cover, inlet back on, injectors back in, so AGR, pipework connected back up, both sizes, etc. We've got to put our battery tray back in and our air box, and we can do our coolant and our oil, and then we're ready for cranking and see what happens. So we'll get our battery tray and that back in, get connected back up, get our fluids back in, and we'll come back and see what happens. Okay, so batteries back in, connected up, air box back in, bled the fuel system, coolant in, oil in. So clear the fault codes. Now, so, see what happens. Sounds alright. No management light, no codes. I would call that a job well done. We'll take it out for a test drive, make sure all's good. But just shows you that if the belts do snap on these or strip the teeth, you can rebuild the heads, providing it hasn't dropped a valve, and they should go again. So if it does strip it, there's no way go at rebuilding it. So job well done.